Talk about
Donald
what?
Trump is psychopath, sociopath, narcissist.
He's a narcissistic sociopath. He's a malignant narcissist. He's a psychopath. He's just a general nut job. So I've been saying this for years, as you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
and I finally got sick of the media basically ignoring it. I mean, that's how we ended up with weeks and weeks talking about Joe Biden and whether or not he's a little, he's slower than he was and he slurs words or he mistakes people for other people. Well, as we all do. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he's getting old and Trump does it too, but somehow he skates because we're used to that. We're used to him. And not only that, it's like if you look at, there is some cognitive decline that occurs, obviously, after
Yeah.
you reach age 10. And so we're all suffering from it. And of course, when you get to 80, 77, 8, 78, 79, 80, like these guys, it's obvious. And
Mm.
you can see it in Trump too, but we don't talk about Trump because we're used to Trump being just a complete lunatic and an idiot and a
Yeah.
buffoon talking about Revolutionary War airports 5 years ago
Right.
and Clorox for
Windmills.
3 years ago or 4 years ago. I mean, we're just used to that. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden, people focus on Joe Biden. He has a bad night at the debate. I'm not saying that it wasn't correct for people to focus on his mental acuity and his ability to serve 4 more years. It's an absolutely legitimate concern for a president of the United States. The problem was it was only being applied to him.
Right.
And if you actually look at the two individuals and what they're starting with,
Hmm.
not just base of knowledge, but just basically mental soundness, there's no question that you'd vote. I'd vote for Joe Biden with his head in a formaldehyde jar before I'd vote for Donald Trump. And now it's a no-brainer now because there's only one mentally incompetent person in the race now, and we know who that is, and he's all dressed in orange.
Right.
Anyway, that's the point to the pack that I put together, the Anti-Psychopath Political Action Committee, because he is a psychopath, and even at his mental best, at his most acute mental state, he's bad guy. He's basically represents all that is evil, as reflected in psychiatric definitions. He is the definition. If there is a diagnosis for evil, it is that of Donald Trump. He is a malignant narcissist. That is a phrase that was coined by a psychologist named Eric Fromm. I think it was in the 1950s. And what Eric Fromm was trying to do was he was trying to explain the psychological makeup of essentially the world's worst people, the Hitler, the Stalins.
Mhm.
And he did. He basically just said the primary traits that these people have are extreme pathological narcissism. It's all about themselves. And sociopathy. They have no conscience. They lie all the time. They don't care whether they cause harm to others. And Trump is a narcissistic sociopath. And
Right.
there are a couple of other things that Fromm described, like paranoia. Well, Trump thinks everybody is out to get him, obviously, and Machiavellianism. They're always trying to work their way into power.
Mm.
Basically, it's narcissism and sociopathy. And even if you don't accept the psychological aspect of it, we are not psychologists or psychiatrists. We are not authorized to diagnose, but these are very, very simple definitions that anybody can understand. And if you don't want to get into, oh, I can't be a psychiatrist, I'm not an expert. All you need to do is look at the traits. I don't have my placards with me today that I had on Morning Joe last week.
Right.
But all you have to do is look at the characteristics of a sociopath, for example.
Hmm.
And there are about 7 of them. And you only have to have 3 to be classified as sociopath by a mental health professional. Trump is all 7. There's no question that he is all 7. And, the question is, well, even if I don't accept a psychiatric diagnosis or I'm not making one, are these the characteristics that I want in anybody with any power or control over my life, let alone president of the United States?
Hmm.
The answer
Right.
is no.
Right. And
And
you said,
that's the simple message that we're trying to get through. I mean, there really are 4 things that we're trying to get through. One is the nature of the problem. I mean, why, that he's a narcissistic sociopath, and why that's dangerous is the second thing. And the second thing about it is that explains every bad characteristic about him.
Yeah. Sorry, I want to talk about that. Yeah.
The misogyny, the authoritarianism, okay, the desire for revenge, all of the negative aspects of his personality are explained by his mental conditions. And those mental conditions are easy to spot. And you just don't want to have anything to do with anybody like that.
Right.
And then the third point is we're trying to get the press to finally write about it and to report about it, because one of the things that's happened is we treat him as normal. We have normalized Donald Trump's bizarreness, because not only because we're just so used to seeing it on the television and used to seeing it on social media, but nobody ever put the proper label on it, which is, this is pathological. This guy is not normal. He is out here. Okay. He should not be in charge of anything. And once you sort of try to normalize him and say, well, he's got a different approach, or he's kind of rough around the edges, or whatever it is they say about him in a given moment. And then they say, oh, it's the new Trump. And then it's the new Trump. Oh, he's got a new tone. He didn't scream at anybody today. It's like, no, he is what he is, and he always will be what he is. And you can't not take him seriously. I mean, it's easy to not take him seriously. Even his own people don't take him that seriously because they think he's a buffoon.
Right.
Which is why, people like my ex-wife can basically say, oh, he's not so bad. He's not so bad. It's like, no, but they don't take him seriously because they know he's an idiot.
Right.
He is an idiot, yes, but he's a dangerous idiot, because these traits that are in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders and described by psychologists and psychiatrists and historians. The historians actually see this too, because this is they deal with the consequences of these characters when they write history. He's dangerous, even though he is a buffoon.
Right.
And then the final point is about the pack. 3 points is: 1, explain the problem; 2, explain why it's dangerous; 3 is get the press to follow; and 4 is trigger him. You trigger him, and you can say, see, told you.
Yeah.
Make him more mad. So to that end, we spent some money starting this morning. We've raised so much money. It's amazing how much money we've raised online. I've contributed a lot of money on my own, and that we've also have a big generous donor. We put $100,000 into running ads on cable television, on Fox News, ESPN, and the Golf Channel. Okay. And actually, you probably, I know where you live. You probably could turn on cable and see some of these ads, because you're relatively close to Bedminster, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And if anyone out there is close to West Palm, to Palm Beach, those are where the ads are going to run. Wow. So you're going to walk into the clubhouse at Trump Bedminster and see the Golf Channel, and you're going to see my smiling face talking about a psychopath.